In a universe full of stars, sometimes the hardest thing is not the silence of space, but the silence between two people. When someone moves far away, it feels like part of your heart goes with them. This is the story of one human who wouldn't let distance take away what mattered most. John sat by the window every night. The stars above used to bring him joy. He would sit with Huravan, talk about constellations, dreams, and faraway places they would explore together. But now, Eva was gone. She had moved away 6 months ago. Not to another city, not even another country. She was on another planet, assigned to a science outpost on a colony world orbiting a red sun. At first, John smiled through the goodbyes. He promised to write. She promised to reply, and for a while, they did. Short, sweet words, shared pictures, laughter in text form, then silence. No message in weeks. Then months. John checked his comms unit every day. He thought maybe there was a delay, a storm, a system glitch. But messages to others came through, just not hers. Maybe she forgot. Or maybe she had moved on. Maybe the stars weren't enough to keep people connected. He felt the distance more each day. It wasn't just space, it was time. It was feeling like you still care, but maybe the other person doesn't. He tried to write a message again. Stared at the screen, fingers frozen. What would he say? I miss you. Did I do something wrong? Please reply. Each sentence felt heavy. Each word felt weak. He closed the screen without typing a single letter. Instead, he opened the old recordings. Her voice filled the room. John, look. That one looks like a bird. I'm calling it Featherstar. He smiled. Sad, quiet smile. The recordings weren't the same. They were memories, not messages. They were moments that couldn't talk. Back. John wasn't the kind of person to give up. He built things. Fixed broken machines. Helped neighbors with tech problems. He believed that humans, no matter how far they fall, get back up. It's what makes them human, that spark. It's that refusal to give up, even when it hurts. That night, John sat under the stars again. Not just to look, but to try. He pulled out his old transmitter. The big one. The one meant for long-range field work, not for everyday use. It was heavy and old, but strong. He fixed the battery, cleaned the wires, and adjusted the antenna. The signal would be slow. Weak. But it would go farther than any normal message. He didn't plan a speech. He just spoke from the heart. Eva, I don't know if you'll hear this. I don't even know if you want to. But I hope you do. I'm still here, still watching the stars, still thinking about birds made of stardust. I miss our talks. I miss you. He paused. I don't know why the messages stopped. I don't blame you. Maybe something happened. Maybe you're busy. Or maybe it just hurts too much to reply. But if you still care of any little, just send me anything, one word. One light. He ended the recording and hit send. The signal flew into the sky, chasing her across the dark. He didn't expect a reply. Not really. But he needed to try. That's what humans do. When everything feels broken, they still hope. The next morning, he woke up to a soft beep. A small, green light blinked on the transmitter. One message. Received, his heart jumped. He opened the message. It was only a few words, John. I'm sorry, I'm here. I never stopped caring. He didn't cry, but he felt something deep inside crack open. Hope, even across galaxies. A human heart still reaches out, and sometimes it's met with another asterisk. John could not stop reading her message. John, I'm sorry. I'm here. I never stopped caring. Those words were short, simple, but to him, they felt like air after drowning. He read them again and again, as if each time would bring her closer. She was still out there, still listening. He wanted to reply right away, but again he paused. What could he say? How could he show how much it meant? I didn't want to scare her. He didn't want to say too much or too little. So he just typed, I'm glad you're still there." He sent it. Then he waited. Hours passed, then a day, and to no reply. He told himself not to lose hope. Maybe the signal was still traveling. Maybe her schedule was full. She was working on another planet. Life must be busy. Still, the silence felt heavy. He walked through the park near his home. He used to go there with Eva when they were both still on Earth. They would sit on the bench under the wide tree, share snacks, and talk about the future. John sat on that same bench now, alone. The wind was soft. The sky above was gray but not sad, just quiet. He remembered how Eva used to draw stars on napkins. She'd connect them with little lines, making shapes she gave silly names to. He smiled. He took out his notepad and drew something too. A small star, then a second one, far away from the first. Then he drew a thin line between them. They were still far apart, but they were connected. That gave him an idea. He went back home and opened a new project on his terminal. A star map. Not one from any database. This one he would build himself. One point for every message, every memory. A map of their connection. He called it Hope Line. He added the first star, the day they met. Then another, like their first shared message. Then the night she left Earth. And now. Her first message back after months of silence. Each moment got its own star. Each star had light. It wasn't much, but it was something. A quiet way to remember that not all distance is forever, he thought. Maybe he could send her this map, not to ask questions, not to make her feel guilty, just to show her that she still mattered. He attached a short message. I made this. Every star means something we shared. Even when I didn't hear from you, I kept adding stars. You're still part of my sky. He pressed send. This time, he didn't wait by the screen. He went out again. Helped his neighbors fix a broken solar panel. Gave his time to a child trying to build their first telescope. It helped because, even when hearts feel empty, helping others fills a part of it. That night, as John walked home, his cum beeped. He opened the message. Her voice came through. It was a recording, little shaky, like maybe she was nervous. John. Your map made me cry. I didn't mean to disappear. Storm hit our station. We lost signal for weeks. By the time it came back, I was scared to reach out. I thought maybe you moved on. Maybe you forgot me. John whispered, never. Her voice continued, but you didn't. You made stars out of silence. You gave meaning to waiting. That's very human of you. She paused, then added softly, thank you for not giving up on me. John held the message close as if it were a living thing. Humans aren't perfect. They feel fear. They make mistakes. But they don't stop caring. They don't let distance win. They keep building bridges, even when the other side feels lost. That's what made John human, not the sadness, but the hope. Even across the cold silence of space, he had chosen to believe, and that belief had brought her back. John listened to Ava's voice again. Every word felt like light in the darkness. It was full of feeling, full of care, and full of something that had been missing for a long time truth. He wanted to reply right away. But this time he waited. Not because he was afraid, but because he wanted it to matter. That evening, he sat by his window, the same one where they once watched the sky together. The moon was rising slowly, soft and golden. It reminded him of her, calm, distant, but still. There he began to speak, recording a message. His voice was steady, gentle. Eva, I'm glad you said those things. I understand now. I never stopped thinking about you. And even though we're far apart, I want to keep sharing our sky, even if the stars look different from your side. Paused, then smiled. I still remember. When you told me your dream to teach other worlds about Earth stories, about our songs, our feelings, you said humans are small, but our hearts are big. I didn't forget. He finished the recording and sent it. John didn't expect magic. He didn't expect everything to be perfect again. But he felt something stronger now, a real connection, one that didn't depend on distance. The next day he walked into the library. A small boy was there, pointing at a picture book about space. Do stars talk to each other? The boy asked. John smiled. Maybe not with words, but maybe with light. The boy looked confused. John sat beside him. When one star shines, another one might shine back. It's not loud, but it means, I see you. That's enough sometimes. Boy nodded slowly. Like friends who don't live near, as John said. Exactly like that. Later that night, John checked his messages again. A new one had arrived. Eva had sent a photo. It showed her wearing her spacesuit, standing on red soil with the Earth just barely visible in the sky. She was holding a small sign that read, "Still watching the stars with you." John laughed softly. He felt warmth grow inside his chest. She hadn't forgotten. He sent back a photo of his window, the moon rising behind it, and added just 3 words, "Same moon here." It wasn't long before they started exchanging messages again. Not every day. Not full conversations, just small pieces. A song she remembered, a picture he drew, a poem she found, a funny story he heard from a kid at the market. They were pieces of life, and together they built something. John didn't stop there. He started collecting these little pieces. He created a digital scrapbook called Even If Apart. Each day, he added something small. It's not just from Eva, but from people around him. A quote from a neighbor, a photo of a sunset, a sound recording of laughter. He shared it online, and to his surprise, others joined in. People from different parts of Earth, people from colonies on the Moon, Mars, even Europa. They all shared small things with loved ones far away. No drama, no big speeches, just signs of life. Signs of care. The scrapbook grew. One day, John got a message from a stranger. "I haven't heard from my brother in a year. I sent him one of your star poems," he replied. "Thank you." John smiled. Humans were not perfect. They made mistakes. They got lost, but they also tried. Again and again. They reached out even when afraid. They built bridges from words and pictures and hope. And sometimes, across that distance, someone reached back. John sat under the stars again. This time, he wasn't alone. Not in his heart. Eva had sent another message. "Maybe one day I'll come back. Or maybe you'll come here. But until then, we'll keep talking." "Even if it's just a hello," John whispered. "I'll always say, hello." The stars were silent, but they were shining, and that was enough. Asterisk John had a new routine now. Each morning, he would wake up, open the message app, and look for Ava's reply. Some days, there would be nothing. Other days, a photo, a voice note, or just a few short words would be waiting. Each message felt like a breath of warm air after cold winds, but there were still quiet days. Still moments of doubt. Sometimes the space between their words felt too wide. You missed the old times, the talks that lasted hours, the little jokes, the shared meals, the feeling of someone nearby. Now, even though they had reconnected, John still felt the weight of distance. He sat at his desk one evening, holding a small metal keychain. Eva had given it to him years ago. It was shaped like a compass, she had said, so you'll always find your way in when you're lost. He turned it in his hand slowly. "Why does it still feel like I've lost something?" he whispered John. Wasn't sad in the loud way. It was a quiet kind of sadness, like a missing puzzle piece. Life moved on, but the empty part stayed. He didn't want to make Eva feel guilty. He didn't want to ask for more than she could give, so he smiled in his messages. He joked. He shared drawings and news and music, but inside he still longed for something deeper. That night, he sat by the lake near his home. The water was still. The stars were bright. He remembered sitting here with her once, their shoes off, feet in the water, laughing about silly things. He looked up and asked the sky, "How do I reach her heart again?" The sky said nothing, but John knew one thing: humans don't stop. Just because the path is unclear, he opened his notebook and began to write. This time, not a message, a letter, a real one. He wrote slowly with care. Dear Eva, sometimes I wonder, if stars feel lonely, they shine, they burn, they light up the universe, but still, they're so far apart. It's like us. I'm glad we talk again. Your messages give me light. But I miss hearing your thoughts for more than just a minute. I miss the comfort of sitting beside you, even in silence. You once said humans are brave because they hope even when things feel broken. I think about that a lot. Maybe I'm writing this because I want to be brave too. I want to be honest. I care. About you, Eva? Even from here. Even if I can't always say the right words, if you ever feel the same, if you ever want to share more, I'm here. I don't need the perfect answer, just the truth. Your star on Earth, John. He folded the letter and placed it in a silver envelope. Then he scanned it and sent the digital copy with a quiet title, What We Carry. Days passed. No reply. John didn't panic. He didn't send another message. He waited, hopeful. Quiet in. In the meantime, he added more to the even if apart scrapbook. More photos, more voices from strangers who had reconnected with family or friends. One person from Luna. Base sent a message. I hadn't talked to my sister in years. After reading your letter to Eva, I sent her one. She cried. We talk again now. John read that and felt something move inside. His small voice was helping others. That's what being human meant, not being perfect, but trying again and again. 1 week later, a message had arrived. He opened it. It was Eva. A video. She looked tired, but her smile was warm. John, your letter reached me on a hard day. It was quiet not because I didn't care, but because I didn't know what to say. You're honest? I want to be too. She took a breath. Care about you deeply. I never stopped. I think I just didn't know how to carry that across space. She held up the compass keychain's twin. I still have mine. Then she looked into the camera and said, let's keep going. No matter how far. Let's keep shining, even if we're not side by side. John watched the message twice. Then once more he didn't cry, but he felt full. He looked out the window. Stars were still there, so was she. And that was enough for now. The seasons had changed. Leaves outside John's window had turned golden brown. The wind felt colder now. But inside his heart, something small and bright had returned, something warm. It was Eva. Her video message had stayed with him, not just the words, but the look in her eyes, the way she held the twin compass. She still cared. She still remembered. That meant more than anything. But the distance was still real, and John still missed her voice in everyday moments. He missed sharing coffee, laughing at nothing, walking beside someone who knew his heart without needing to ask questions. He didn't want to make her feel bad about being away. He respected her work. He was proud of her. She was helping build a future for humans on new worlds. But sometimes he just wanted to say, I wish you were here. Instead, he said it in smaller ways. One day, he recorded a video from the lake where they used to sit. The trees were bare now, but the water was still. He showed her the bench, the way the sky reflected on the surface. In his message, he said, this place remembers us, even if we're not here together. A few days later, she replied with a photo of her Ona sunrise on her colony planet. The red sun casting soft light across dry hills, a mug in her hand. A quiet smile on her face. She had written only 2 words, still thinking. Those 2 words meant more than 1,000. John had learned something important. Connection wasn't only about words or time. It was about showing up, even in small ways. It was about being real. He didn't expect long talks every day. He didn't expect promises. What he hoped for was simple. To be remembered to matter. And somehow across the stars she was saying, you do? One evening, John joined a local group of students who were building a new community telescope. He brought some of his old tools. They asked him about stars, machines, and even feelings. One girl asked, why do people go so far away from home? John thought for a moment, because sometimes home is not just where you are, it's what you bring to others. Eva went far, but she took Earth with her. The girl nodded, though she didn't fully understand. Later, John smiled to himself. He sent a message to Eva. You're someone's idea of home. She replied the next day, You always were mine. That night, he walked through the quiet park under the soft light of the moon. He felt both close and far from her, but he wasn't sad. Not in the way he used to be. There was a new, now feeling, now peace. The space between them was still there, but it wasn't empty anymore. It held memories, laughter, messages, and hope. John went home and worked on the even if apart scrapbook again. He added a section called Small Moments. In it, he invited people to post short entries, just one sentence about someone they missed and something they'd tell them if they could. Messages came in from all over. I saved a seat for you at dinner again. The flowers you planted bloomed. I still walk past your favorite bookstore. I looked up and smiled today. John read each one with care. People all over the galaxy were doing the same thing he was doing, loving from a distance. Hoping, waiting, reaching out in quiet ways. That was the human story, not battles, not glory, but hearts that kept trying even. When it was hard, even when it felt quiet. That night, John sent one more message to Eva. He didn't say much, just this. Still here, still yours. And somewhere far away, on a dusty red planet, she read it under a sky full of stars. She placed her hand over her heart and whispered back to the night, Me too. John sat on the floor of his room with old things spread out around him. Photos, notes, a small scarf. The compass cake. Keen. He was cleaning, but more than that, he was remembering. Each item reminded him of Eva. Some days, memories made him smile. Other days, like today, they made him feel quiet inside. The messages between them had slowed again. She hadn't replied in 4 days. He told himself not to worry. Maybe she was busy. Maybe the signal was delayed again. But the silence brought back old feelings. He looked at the empty screen and whispered, Are you still there? Didn't want to send another message too soon? He didn't want to seem afraid or needy. Still, he missed her. It wasn't about the words, they had shared many already. It was about presence, knowing someone was still with you. Even from far away, John stood and walked outside. The air was cold. Leaves danced across the ground, like soft whispers. At the park, he sat on the same bench again. The lake was calm. The sky was turning soft blue, touched with the last light of the sun. He closed his eyes and listened to the wind, even in silence. The world still spoke. He wondered if Eva felt the same way. Maybe she was sitting somewhere too, watching a different sky. Maybe she was missing him in the quiet of her own world. He hoped so, that evening. John lit a candle and placed it near his window. He wasn't sure why. It just felt right. A small light, softly burning, a sign of waiting, a symbol of hope. He didn't send a message. He just let the light speak the next morning. A message arrived. Eva. Only one word. Here. John stared at it for a long time. It wasn't much. But it was enough, he replied. I lit a candle for you last night, she answered. I saw it in my dreams. John smiled. There was something beautiful about not needing many words. Just small, honest things. That was what humans did best. They found ways to speak when it was hard to speak. They reached out with light, with symbols, with actions, he began. To write again? It's time not just for Eva, but for others too. He wrote a short story and posted it on the Even If Apart scrapbook. It was about 2 stars. One red, one blue. They could not touch. Were too far. But they blinked toward each other across the darkness. Night after night they didn't speak. They just kept shining. Other people loved the story. They shared it, commented. Some even wrote their own versions. One person wrote, This made me call my dad again. Another said, I sent it to someone I haven't talked to in years. John didn't try to fix the world. He didn't have big answers. But his words helped people feel less alone. And that mattered. Later that week, Eva sent him another video. She was sitting near a small window on her station. Behind her, the sky of her planet glowed gently. I liked the star story, she said. It reminded me of us. She paused. Sometimes I don't know what to say. I get scared I'll say the wrong thing or not enough. John understood. He had felt that way many times. She looked into the camera and said, But I don't want silence to win. So, I'll keep trying, even if it's just one word at a time. John replied with a quiet message. Even stars speak that way, she wrote back. Then let's be stars. That night, John lit the candle again, and in his notebook, he wrote, Even if we're far, even if we're quiet, we're still here, still shining, still human. And in that simple truth, he felt peace. Because hope doesn't always come with answers. Sometimes. It comes with trying, and that's what humans do best. John sat near his window, watching the clouds move slowly across the sky. It had been 2 weeks since Ava's last message. He didn't feel angry. He didn't feel forgotten. But he did feel the quiet again, the kind that sat in his chest. Like stone too soft to break, too heavy to ignore. Sometimes he wrote messages but didn't send them. He would start to type, then stop, then delete the words. Not because he had nothing to say, but because he didn't know if it was the right time. He just trusted her. He knew she cared. But space was still space, and distance still had weight. He walked outside, hands in his pockets. The air had the smell of winter in it, cold and clean. Ow. Children were playing nearby. Laughter filled the air. John smiled, but deep down, he missed the sound of Ava's laugh. He sat by the lake again. The trees were bare now, thin and quiet. The water was still. He remembered a time when Eva had said, Even if you can't see me, I'm looking at the same stars. John looked up. The clouds were clearing. One by one, stars appeared in the sky. He pulled out his notebook and wrote something simple. Hope is like a star. You don't always see it, but it's always there. He took a photo of the page and posted it in the Even If Apart scrapbook that night. Received 30 replies. Some people shared their own notes. Others just wrote thank you. One person wrote, This helped me send a letter I've been afraid to send for 5 years. John didn't reply to all of them, but he read each one with care. They were all people like him, trying to hold on to something gentle in a fast, wide world. He sent one more quiet message to Eva that night. Not to ask anything, just to share. I saw the stars again tonight. One of them blinked. I pretended it was you saying hello. He didn't expect an answer soon. He had learned that connection isn't about speed, it's about meaning. The next morning, his message light blinked. Eva had replied. A short voice note. Hello, John. I saw the stars too. I closed my eyes and hoped you were okay. I guess it worked. Her voice was soft, almost sleepy. She continued, Sorry for the long silence. Work has been hard. I've been tired. But I never forgot you. I never stopped looking toward Earth. John sat still. His heart felt calm again. He sent back a message. It's okay. You don't need to speak all the time. Just knowing you're still with me is enough. That evening, he added a new page to his star map, the one he had built just for her. He called the new star Still Here, and it glowed brighter than the rest. Later that week, John organized a small event in town. He called it Light Across the Sky. People were invited to come together, light candles, and send messages to anyone they missed. Family, friends. Even those they had not spoken to in years, dozens of people showed up. Candles flickered in the night. Children held up drawings. Elders shared poems. And in the center, John stood with his compass keychain in his hand. He didn't give a big speech. He just said, Sometimes a little light can remind someone they're not forgotten. He lit his candle last, and as the wind moved softly through the crowd, he whispered, This one is for Eva, somewhere far away. Under a different sky, Eva sat on a small hill beside her base. She looked up at the stars, her own candle glowing in a glass jar. She whispered, This one is for John. And though space still stretched between them, something powerful filled the silence. Not words, not answers, but a feeling. A connection. A hope. Human, strong, and still shining. Asterisk. The sun rose slowly over John's town. Golden light touched the trees, the streets, the rooftops. The wind was cool, but not cold. It was the kind of morning that felt soft and full of possibility. John stood by the window, watching the light. He held a warm cup in his hands and thought about how much had changed. It had been almost a year since Eva left Earth, a full year of waiting, hoping, and holding on. He still missed her. Some days he felt that missing more deeply than others. Some days were quiet, like now. But even in the quiet, he had learned something important. Love doesn't always need answers. Sometimes it just needs time, presence, and the promise that you will not stop trying. John had stopped counting the number of messages they had shared. He didn't keep track anymore. It wasn't about numbers. It was about the feeling that she was still there and that he was still here. One day, she sent him a message that simply said, "I walked outside tonight and said your name to the stars." He had replied, "I heard it in the wind." They didn't always have long talks, but they had something better truth. Their connection had become part of their lives. Not loud, not perfect, real. John turned on his terminal and checked the even if apart scrapbook. It had grown far beyond what he ever imagined. Now, thousands of people from all over the galaxy had added their voices. Photos, notes, songs, drawings, letters, all for someone they missed. Someone they still loved, even from a distance. John scrolled. Through the newest entries, one caught his eye. It was a message from someone on a deep space cargo ship. "I haven't seen my son in 2 years, but every night I whisper goodnight to his photo. It's not much, but it helps." John smiled softly. Yes, it helps. He closed the screen and picked up a small box from his desk. Inside was a folded paper star. He had made one he kept, the other he had mailed months ago in a supply pod heading to Eva's colony. He didn't know if she ever got it, but he hoped she did. He opened the star and read the words he had written inside. Even when we're far apart. Oh, we are under the same sky. Even when we're quiet, our hearts still speak. I'm still here, still yours. The wind outside moved through the trees. It sounded like someone breathing. Later that day, John visited the local school. The children were painting stars and planets, and one girl showed him her drawing. "This is Earth," she said, "and this is the red planet." They're holding hands. John smiled. "But that's a beautiful idea." The girl nodded. "My brother moved far away, but I still talk to him in my heart." John knelt down beside her. That's the most human thing you can do. That evening, John returned home and saw something waiting on his screen. A video message. From Eva. He opened it with calm hands and a fast heart. She stood outside under the deep red sky of her planet. The sun was low, the light warm and soft. In her hand, she held the paper star. She smiled. "I got it," she said. "I opened it under the stars, and I cried. Good tears." She looked at the camera for a long second. "I still miss you. Every day. But it's not a heavy sadness anymore. It's something lighter now, something beautiful." She pointed the camera at the sky. "Every night I look up. I know you're doing the same. And somehow that's enough." She turned the camera back to herself. And maybe someday John will be under the same sky again, not just in spirit, but side by side. John felt a deep breath leave his body. He whispered, "Yes, someday." He replied with one sentence, "When that day comes, I'll be waiting." And with that, he placed the paper star back into its box, smiled at the window, and watched the stars come out one by one. They were still far apart, but not truly, because what made them? Human was not the distance, it was the reaching, and the hope, and the love that never stopped shining.